of whether it's a replay or not. So let's look up with. All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic evening because we have game one between our gentleman in the bottom right. We have MrBailey, sporting the orange as the Terran. In the top left, we have his opponent, 28 in-game, Manderson on the forums. He is the blue Terran. So we have a mirror match of a different sort of element, so to speak, finally getting a TVT for once. Should be a very interesting game. I'll be honest, this is one of the matchups I know as well. I know that at the pro level it tends to turn to like a very positional mind game sort of thing. Not mind game, sorry, like very positional chess-like game. But I can tell you from having watched TVTs of all sorts of levels that if someone is not really as good at that, it tends to be much more kind of deathball-y, kind of what you would expect to see from a Protoss match. And it's interesting, and we'll see where these guys go from here. No SCV running across the map to build any proxy barracks or anything, so it looks like shenanigans will have to wait for a bit. In the meantime, let's take a look at the map itself here. This is Star Station. Star Station used to be a 4-player map. The empty space you see in the bottom left and the bottom right used to have entire bases there. Not so much anymore, of course. And with that changed, it kind of made the map a little bit better, in my opinion. It just takes a lot of the weird randomness out of it. And instead, now we just have to worry about a couple other things. The fact that, for example, the natural doesn't have a ramp. It's just very, very wide and open. That means it's very easy for things to run by and do drops in there. However, it becomes increasingly difficult for pretty much anybody to hold a third. You'll notice that all this empty space around the third, not to mention the fourth or potential third that's next to the watchtower, can be scouted incredibly easily just by that Zelnaga watchtower. Not to mention, it's really far out there. So if a battle occurs over there and a drop happens at the same time, very, very difficult to hold that off. Wall-off has been completed by MrBailey here, and unfortunately, Manderson's scout will be denied. You can see that MrBailey is going for a Reaper on top of this, whereas Manderson is actually sticking for what appears to be more just a Marine approach. That early Reaper does give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to scouting, and it's very good for being reactive. And as I said before, MrBailey tends to be much more the turtley style player, so this decision making makes a lot of sense from him. He wants to know what his opponent's doing, and he wants to be able to respond to it. So we'll see how well he controls that Reaper and if he's able to get the information he needs from that. In the meantime, back over in Manderson's base, we can see 2 more barracks coming down. So not going for the quick command center, instead just going to be going a little bit more for kind of a pure damage output, grabbing his gas now at about 19 supply. I'm actually not sure, certain off the top of my head, if there's really any specific builds that do that. It may just be forgetting to get gas a little while earlier, or if he just wants to. This might be indicative of a type of all-in where you're just going for a really fast stim and a lot of Marines, but we'll see from there. Like I said, I'm sorry, I don't know this matchup as well as too many others. Anyway, Reaper's about to jump into the base and is going to get kind of a nice eye, nice eye on everything going on here. He sees the 3 barracks. He also saw the Marine as well. 2 more being out. Sees the gas. Doesn't see a. I don't know if he got in position to actually see anything more there, and he's going to want to get out of there fairly soon. Unfortunately, the Marine's actually being grabbed over, so he may get the ability to actually snipe off one of the workers here. Workers are all being pulled at the Reapers. It's not usually a very effective way of dealing with this thing, and as a result, the Reaper is actually going to escape. Flaunting with death a little bit there. He's jumping right into the Marines. Nearly dies. 6 health left on that Reaper. He's going to heal up and probably continue his adventures. In the meantime, we have back over in MrBailey's base. You can see that he's actually just finished a factory, just about. Just a few more seconds there, going for a barracks on top of that. So he sees the one base, sees the lack of a command center of any kind, knows that his opponent is building a lot of Marines, and he's going to want to get units out to be able to deal with that. Most likely going to be going up to Hellions, I would imagine. Kind of, for one, he happens to like Hellbats. I'll tell you that a lot. MrBailey is a big fan of the Hellbats. He's also a fan of drops. You can kind of see where this is going, can't you? Lots of Marines also coming out here. Looks like for now, neither player is particularly interested in actually grabbing expansion, so it's going to be a little bit more of a one base game. And I say, all right, yeah, all right, I'm cool with that. Get some action a little bit faster than we normally would. Marine running across the map to actually get a scout here. Notice he's not actually stopping at any of the watchtowers, so this is most likely just a quick poke. Command center finally coming down here for Manderson. So Manderson's going to be going for a little bit on the faster economy end here. Now, the tricky thing for MrBailey here is that his Reaper has not seen this yet, and he's probably anticipating some kind of aggression instead. So if he doesn't get another scout in, he's not able to see that command center, he may end up, just out of kind of psychological fear, not expand for a while, expecting an attack, and then find himself behind economically. But he does have that Reaper in position, though, so he can jump in here and see this. It's not out of the question. Marine is running around the edge of the base. It's not really probably going to be able to see anything other than the noticeable lack of an expansion. Does get shot at a few times. Nothing really exciting happening over here. And Stim is actually just about to finish for MrBailey. And he may be going from here into a... Another thing that... Sorry, I'm stopping for just a second there looking at that. I'm thinking... I'm a little bit surprised seeing all the Marauders coming out from MrBailey. Usually he goes for either Widow Mines or for maybe some Siege Tanks or some Hellbats. We're just not seeing any Factory Tech actually being used right now. And this might be, again, to the presumption of his opponent going for some kind of one-base attack. Siege Tank set up on the corner here and is actually going to be able to blow the crap out of that Reaper, which, surprisingly enough, doesn't die. How much damage did that do to it? So that did 35 damage, and the Reaper is going to walk right... Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, well, there you go. No chance of scouting that base, at least in the short term. We might... Nope, he's spending all of his mules on the minerals. Get that income as high as he can. So the important thing here is that as long as he can keep himself from getting too badly supply blocked, you'll notice that MrBailey's army is going to be a little bit bigger than Manderson's for a little while. He does have a potential timing where he can get up here and do some damage, either with a drop or with something else. Though with these siege tanks in place, the land route in front of the Natural is probably not going to be where he's going to want to do that if he tries to go for it. There are some Marines stationed in Manderson's main, though, so if he does try to go for that, and the medevacs are finishing right now, so he may see that any moment now. Okay. Oh man, I missed the command center. I'm really sorry. I have not been paying close enough attention to the production tab. But yeah, okay. So both players are going to have a decent economy up here, and I guess we're going to be transitioning more into the mid-game. Double upgrades about to be finished and start producing for our blue Terran. MrBailey has definitely actually been a little bit better on his worker production, all the way up to 34 now, despite, I think, starting this command center somewhat later. And as you can see, as a result, it's starting to really swell the size of his army. He's already made it to 90 supply versus his opponent's 60. And he has 57 army supply versus his opponent's 34. 34 worker supply versus his opponent's 26. So, there kudos to him. I'm underestimating him a little bit there. Gotta say, like I said, you know, he's not kidding when he says he hasn't played very much. I know for a fact that like if he pretty much just got this thing, he subs as a teacher and he just had to take over for somebody else for a really long time. So under that kind of pressure, I can understand not practicing that much. But this guy's got the fundamentals, and it really shows in these situations. Now, unfortunately, his supply block for the moment, but as you can see, he's still big. Supply Devo's just about to finish. So I'm going to keep powering along. It's not perfect, but he's got the basics there. Anyway, back over in Manderson's base, we have +1, +2, halfway done, and Stim's just about to finish. Now you'll notice no progress in the upgrades back in MrBailey's base. This could end up being the key factor in all this, which if MrBailey waits a little bit too long and the upgrades get a little bit too high, even if he has a dramatic army advantage, he may find himself in a situation where, oh, well, never mind. I was going to say he may find himself in a situation where the upgrades just get him killed, but in this situation it looks like we have effectively a doom drop floating out across the map. I know that phrase is probably more for picking up your entire army, but pretty much he picked up as much army as he possibly could, put it in these two medevacs, and now he's coming over here. Now, Manderson scans the front of his base, and he's not going to necessarily think this is too weird. He's like, oh, that's a decent-sized army. He's not going to be like, oh, where's half of his army? Because we have literally, as you can see, they're actually pretty close to size if you look at the front here. So he may not be anticipating this at all. And let's see, if we look at the back of Manderson's base here, yeah, there's nothing really. There's a few Marines, which will help, but yeah, this army is actually going to drop right on top of the production, kill the medevacs as they're coming out, and it's going to get pretty crazy from here. Stim's already down. He's killed that. Oh, medevacs actually don't come out in all. Medevacs versus non-medevac army. And, well, medevacs are there now, but it's not going to matter that much. Most of the Marines are already dead. The siege tanks are way far out of position. Most of this army from MrBailey is completely still intact. And he's going to be able to go from here to working on the mineral line. And as you can see, lots of SCVs already dying. He's stimming forward to try and deal with the siege tank and Manderson GG's. Wow. That was pretty decisive. All right.